Prabhupada. I hope you all are well. Welcome you all to His Holiness Chandramauli Maharaja's daily call. Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glory Srila Prabhupada. Nice to hear you. Let me increase my volume. Yes, now I can hear you correctly. We want to laugh as well.
Huh?
We want to laugh as well.
I was laughing the way you were introducing everything. It was so
I
funny.
know. It's a broken record, Maharaj.
You sound like a little gopi that's trying to get out of stuck in a tree and can't get out.
I feel like it's stuck forever, Maharaj. You need to pull me out. Thank you.
Okay.
So today's verse is Shrimad Bhagavatam, second canto, chapter number 10 and verse number 9. So name of the chapter is Bhagavatam is the answer to all the questions. So if you're ready, Maharaj, I can start sharing my screen. Let me.
It's number 9, is it? Chapter 9, verse what?
Yes, sorry, chapter 10. Okay, let me just.
Chapter 10, verse what?
I've not come out of my YouTube, so I'll have to close my YouTube. Oh, it's giving me some problems, but hopefully I will. Looks like I've got some issues. Just give me 2 seconds, Maharaj, literally. 2:10:9. That's the verse for today.
Is that correct, Srimati? 2:10:9?
Yes, Guru Maharaj. Yeah.
Okay.
10 open, I'll open 9 actually. Let me just go back. Yeah. I'll increase the font. Yeah. Over to you, Maharaj.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Ekam Ekatarabhave Yada Kopalabhamahe Tritayam Tratra Yo Veda Sam Atma Swasvayasrayaha. Translation. All three of the above mentioned stages of different living entities are interdependent. In the absence of one, another is not understood. But the Supreme Being who sees every one of them as the shelter of the shelter is independent of all. And therefore, he is the supreme shelter. Go back to the previous verse to see what it's referring to. Okay, Ariatmik, Haridam, Baltic, Haridainik. Okay. All right, so go to today's verse. There are innumerable living entities, one dependent on the other in the relationship of the controlled and the controller. But without the medium of perception, no one can know or understand who is controlled and who is the controller. For example, the sun controls the power of our vision, and we can see the sun because the sun has its body, and the sunlight is useful only because we have eyes. Without our having eyes, the sunlight is useless, and without the sunlight, the eyes are useless. Thus, they are interdependent, and none of them is independent. Therefore, the natural question arises concerning who made them interdependent. The one who has made such a relationship of interdependence must be completely, ultimately independent. As stated in the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, The ultimate source of all interdependent objectives is the complete independent subject. This ultimate source of all interdependence is the supreme truth of Paramatma, the Supersoul, who is not dependent on anything else. He is Swara Rayas Raya. He is only dependent on himself, and thus he is the supreme shelter of everything. Although Paramatma and Brahman are subordinate to Bhagavan, because Bhagavan is Purushottam, or the supreme super person, he is the source of the Supersoul also. In the Bhagavad Gita 15:18, Lord Krishna says that he is the Purushottama, or the source of everything, and thus it is concluded that Krishna is the source ultimately of all shelter of all living entities, including the Supersoul and the Supreme Brahman. Even accepting that there is no difference between the Supersoul and the individual soul is dependent on the Supersoul for being liberated from the illusion of material energy. The individual is under the clutches of the illusionary energy, and therefore, though qualitatively one with the Supersoul, he is under the illusion of identifying himself with matter. And to get out of this illusionary conception of factual life, the individual soul has to depend on the Supersoul to be recognized as one with him. In that sense, also, the Supersoul is the supreme shelter, and there is no doubt about it. The individual living entity, the jiva, is always dependent on the Supersoul, Paramatma, because the individual soul forgets his spiritual identity, whereas the Supersoul, Paramatma, does not forget his transcendental position. In the Bhagavad Gita, these separate positions of the Jivatma and the Paramatma are specifically mentioned. In the 4th chapter, Arjuna, quit playing with your Sika. In the Bhagavad Gita, the separate position of the Jivatma and the Paramatma are specifically mentioned. In the 4th chapter, Arjuna, its Jiva soul is represented as forgetful of his many, many previous births, but the Lord, the Super Soul, is not forgetful. The Lord even remembers when he taught the Bhagavad Gita to the Sangam some billions of years before. The Lord can remember such millions and billions of years, as stated in the Bhagavad Gita 7:26. Vedam samatitani vartamanani jarjunam bhavishyani cha bhutani mam tu vedana kasyana. The Lord, in his eternal blissful body of knowledge, is fully aware of all that happened in the past, that which is going on in the present, and also what will happen in the future. But in spite of his being the shelter of both the Paramatma and Brahman, persons with a poor fund of knowledge are unable to understand him as he is. The propaganda of the identity of the cosmic consciousness with the consciousness of the living entities is completely misleading, because even such a person or individual soul as Arjuna cannot remember his past deeds, although he is always with the Lord. And what can the tiny ordinary man, falsely claiming to be one with the cosmic conscious, know about his past, present, and future? Agyan timiram dasya yana jana salakaya chaksurum militam yena tasmai shri gurave namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Vacharine Nirvisesa Sunyavari Pastyatya Desatarine. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So the super soul and the individual soul. The individual soul is completely dependent on the super soul because the super soul is situated in the hearts of all living entities, where the individual soul is located only in one body. So the individual soul can know a little bit about his own body, but the super soul, being situated everywhere, can know about all bodies at all times and in all places. So we are ultimately dependent on the super soul for knowledge and for the activities that we may have to perform. The super soul is the guiding feature who manifests himself in the form of the spiritual master, who's called the external manifestation of the super soul. The living entity needs to take direction in performing their activities, both material and spiritual. Well, the super soul is there to give that direction. As Krishna says, Sarvasya Chaham Hridisani Visto Mata Smirti Jnanam Apohanam Cha. I am the source of knowledge, I am the source of forgetfulness, and I'm also the source of remembrance. So the Lord works through the consciousness of the living entity to remind them what they have to do at every moment and where and in what directions they should be going. But unless we take directions from the external manifestation of the supersoul, the spiritual master, we will be confused about how we need to approach the activities, both material and spiritual, because we are limited. We have very little or any knowledge, and whatever knowledge we get, Krishna is the source of that knowledge also. So the more we connect with Krishna through the Supreme Lord, through the spiritual master, the more we connect with the activities that we are meant to perform. Then, of course, even in the material sense, when we want to do something, we are dependent on the material energy, and we're dependent on the facilities that is provided for us in order to perform the activity. All we can do is desire, and then we can endeavor based on our desire, but the ingredients, the activity itself, and ultimately the consummation of the activity, that is the super soul, is all coming from the external environment directed by the super soul, either material or spiritual. So we are never independent, and we're interdependent, as it says here. Just like if we want to do something, if the situation doesn't provide for us to do that activity, we can't do it. Just like sometimes we want to go on a trip and the situation doesn't allow us to go. Maybe some problems with the vehicle, or some weather, or some breakdown of communications. All of these things are coming from the outside, so we're dependent on whatever we want to do. So when a living entity understands their dependence, then they can learn to become free from that dependence when they completely depend on Krishna or super soul, and Krishna in the form of super soul. So when that, and of course, ultimately, we want to be free from suffering. We want to gain knowledge. So that is also coming from Krishna himself. He's also teaching you, as he says in the Bhagavad Gita, as just like the living entity is situated on this machine of material energy, and the machine is moving in a certain direction based on the desires we have. So, and therefore we have to understand that even in the material sense, if we want to do something, we are dependent. So we are all dependent, either materially or spiritually, on Krishna, directly in the form of super soul, or on Krishna's energy in the form of the external energy and the material energy. So one who wants to be free should take shelter of Krishna's spiritual guidance, or the what we call the param, what is it? Paraprakriti, and not the aparaprakriti. No, yeah, we have to take shelter of the paraprakriti, the transcendental, and then we can become free from the aparaprakriti, the material energy. Otherwise, we are completely under the control of the material energy. The living entity only has two choices. Either can be controlled by God or be controlled by God through his external energy. If we get controlled by God through external energy, we experience happiness, distress, and the combination of both based on the quality of our desire. And we also have to constantly rotate in the cycle of material energy, even while we're still within this present body. As material energy is mutable, it keeps changing. So the materialists, they make so many plans, but many times they can't fulfill their plans. And even if they do fulfill their plans, there's no guarantee that they will get the results of their fulfillment. So therefore, one has to understand that in all cases, we are dependent on Krishna. So, but we have to become dependent on Krishna in the spiritual sense, and then we are independent. So our spiritual dependence leads to independence. What is that independence? Then we can act according to our nature and receive the results. And that is, we can become free from the entanglement of material energy and the control that the material energy places upon us. And then we can become free. In the spiritual realm, the living entity is free, but his freedom is based on his desire to connect with Krishna in devotional service. So it's a type of freedom that allows the living entity to experience all of its own nature, the happiness that he wants, the knowledge that he also needs. Everything is provided in the spiritual nature by when one actually comes back to their actual position as a spiritual being. As long as we're under the influence of material energy, we're always baffled, we're confused, we're unhappy, and sometimes we get a little relief from that unhappiness. And then it lasts for a few moments, and then again, we're again subject to a very severe form of control. So only a fool will think they're independent. Therefore, one has to be dependent on that which will elevate us to perfection. So we depended on Krishna through the material, through the spiritual energy, which is the bhakti energy, which is above the three modes of material energy. So one who's situated on the spiritual platform is no longer controlled by the material energy. They're controlled by the spiritual energy, which is a form of freedom from the material energy. And the spiritual energy doesn't control you. It uplifts you to your perfectional stage of existence. So we call it a kind of control, but it's a control away from the actual control, which gives us freedom from all control. And when the soul reaches the stage of liberation, it can go anywhere. It can do anything. It's not limited by time, by space, by anything of this material energy. You can even transform yourself or transfer yourself from one planet to another simply by your own will when one is free from the control of the material energy. Material energy is binding. It, it, it relegates ourselves to a limited form of activities, and the results are always suffering or disappointment. 。 So here, this is interesting. Dependence, interdependence, and freedom, ultimately. So take shelter of the spiritual master, get guidance from the spiritual master, who is the representative of Krishna within the heart, super soul. And one can ultimately be free from all material entanglement and can experience transcendental happiness, complete knowledge, and ultimately one can free themselves from this samsara cycle of birth and death. Samsara dava naralita loka. Gana ganatum. Gana ganatum means forest fire. When one is trapped within the forest fire, one cannot put out the fire in no way. Prabhupada said you can bring all of your fire trucks with all your hoses. You can never put out a forest fire. But if there is a torrential rain, then the fire can be extinguished by that torrential rain. So what is that rain? It's the rain cloud of mercy that comes from the spiritual master, which puts out the fire of material existence, which causes us to suffer life after life, with entangled in the material energy. Karnum gana sangasya sadasa jona jambasu. Going to different levels of existence, sometimes in a higher realm, sometimes in the middle, sometimes in the lower, sometimes in species below the human life, constantly traversing life after life, the different species, and always suffering, wondering where when will this suffering stop. Well, it only stops when we actually come in contact with the spiritual master and follow his instructions and work in that way and become detached from the entanglement of material existence. He teaches you how to get out of this material energy by situating you in the activities of the spiritual energy, which is above the material energy. So never think you're free. You're always controlled, but we want to be controlled by the perfect person, by the perfect energy, and that is Krishna, the spiritual energy. And that control gives us freedom. Okay.
Thank you so much, Maharaj, for explaining us nicely that how we are controlled by the Lord, and how should we dependent on the Lord, and then we can be working dependent directly by the Lord, basically. Devotees, if you have any questions, comments, realization, please unmute yourself and ask. And it'll be nice to take your darshan. So if you can keep your cameras on, please. Thank you. Yes, Krishna Kaviraj Prabhu, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, thank you very much. Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Guru Maharaj, I wanted to understand this. You mentioned about the connection via the spirit to Krishna, via the spiritual master. So when we attempt to make connection to Krishna via sadhana or seva, and via following the instructions of the spiritual master, but we are not able to connect. The connection is only made when Krishna or the spiritual master is willing to make that connection. How does that connection actually work?
The connection is by his instructions. He explains to you how you can get out of the material world. He gives you the roadmap. You're in one place and you want to go to another place. So there's a set of signs that direct you in that direction. You follow those signs, which are the activities of bhakti, and then you move out of the material energy slowly, gradually, into the spiritual energy. So what is the most important instruction of the spiritual master is to chant 16 rounds every day on beads without fail. He's also said take only Krishna prasadam, don't eat food from other areas. He said read books, Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. These are fundamental instructions which apply to all those who are practicing bhakti. He also gives very specific instructions sometimes. He says, go to Mayapur Dham every year for the Gaur Purnima festival, 8 days. He said, I want all my... So Prabhupada has given us many specific instructions, which will help us slowly but regularly, steadily extricate ourselves out of the clutches of the material energy. And then there's other instructions which are more continuous. He says, Lord Chaitanya says, practice bhakti by developing the qualities of a Vaishnava. We have to cultivate those qualities too as we execute the service and the sadhana, both. So there are some fundamental instructions that apply to everyone. You read the books and then you inquire from the spiritual master to get a clarification, an understanding, because we see that in some cases people have different material situations and how to apply those instructions within that specific person's day-to-day life. So that way one can inquire also. If I'm living in India, that might be one thing. If I'm living in the West, that might be another. The instructions are the same, but the application may be slightly different. So yeah, we need that clarification.
Thank you very much, Guru Maharaj.
Yeah, so don't be, what we say, reluctant or hesitant to inquire. This is my situation. It says, Rupa Goswami explains, one should approach the spiritual master at one point and say, how can I make further advancement in my spiritual practice? So we should do that. Not that we get initiated, we simply hear the instructions and we go on. Material energy is very bewildering. It'll make you, it'll cause you to think of the instructions in different ways. And you may also get entangled simply by not understanding how to apply the instructions. Just like there's things called sadhu vritti. Rupa Goswami explains one of the principles is called sadhu vritti, following in the footsteps of the previous acharyas. Now, sadhu vritti is different for ashrams. Sadhu vritti is different for the grihastha ashram than it is in the brahmachari ashram, or those ashrams that are not married. Though the married ashram will have a set of rules and regulations and principles, along with the execution of the instructions. And the brahmachari, the grihastha ashram, they'll also have this similar, same instructions, but the application may be different. It may also be different rules also. Bhaktivinoda Thakur very detailedly lists a series of verses, those that apply to grihasthas, those that apply to the sannyasis and the brahmacharis. So these are getting into the details of the instructions. So the sadhu vritti is a must to understand my situation and how to practice Krishna consciousness accordingly.
Thank you, Maharaj. I hope that answers your question, Krishna Kaviraj Prabhu.
Thank you. Yes, thank you very much.
Shiv Kumar Prabhu, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances at your lotus feet. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So Maharaj, my question has two parts, Maharaj. I'll just go one by one. The first part, Maharaj, you talked about the disciples taking the instructions, not just instructions, the directions from the spiritual master um, to know how to deal with the different situations in life. So the first part of my question, Maharaj, I'm not sure if the spiritual master would have bandwidth to kind of support in giving direction for the disciples to deal with all situations that they have to face with. That's first part, Maharaj. And in connected to that, Maharaj, I see that from my experience, when I am put into a situation, the mind seems to be justifying using intelligence that the direction that I am taking is devotional. But after few weeks or a month or so, when something goes wrong, when I introspect, it looks like the decision that I took, the direction that I took is not really devotional, but it's just that the mind is bewildering at that point to play it in favor of it for any material aspect of it. So I just wanted to hear your thoughts, Maharaj, and guidance on these two aspects.
Well, I forgot the first question after you gave me the second one. So
Yes, Maharaj, I'll repeat, Maharaj. So would the spiritual master have bandwidth to get into the situations of all the disciples to give them directions in different situations that they are put
he
into?
gives you some knowledge, but he says you have to learn how to use that knowledge and to execute your devotion. He's not going to be there to tell you every minute. You know, you don't have to lock the door twice. You can lock the door only once. He doesn't. You have to use your intelligence on how to execute the instructions that's given.
Mm.
Some preliminary knowledge is given in the basic sense, and then if you listen to his classes, and if you read the books, you also get insight on how to use your knowledge in different situations.
Yes.
So everything is provided. You just have to acquiesce that and use it.
Mm. Mm.
And if you get confused, just ask somebody. You don't always have to ask the spiritual master.
Okay.
Always ask the devotees who were with you or some senior devotee who was in your area.
Mm. Mm.
We have to resource whatever series, whatever is available
Mm.
to help us in our Krishna consciousness.
Okay. Yes.
And the second question is, you make a decision, and after some time you realize it was the wrong decision. But is it based on in following the instructions of the spiritual master? If you did, then the results may not always be according to your liking, but it
Mm.
may also be according to what is beneficial for you.
Mm.
Krishna is not always giving you the results of your activities according to the activity, but he may also give you something that will purify you in that activity, such as detachment.
Mm.
We learn from the 11th canto, the 24 gurus that the Avanti Brahmin had. One of them was Pingala. Pingala was a prostitute. And there's a whole chapter devoted to her. Even, she's one of the 24 gurus, but she was the most interesting one because she was a prostitute, but she couldn't maintain herself doing that occupation. And she was always wondering who will come so I can get you know, some money so I can live. But nobody was coming after a while. And she developed a sense of detachment
Mm.
from the whole situation. And
Mm.
that detachment gave her peace of mind.
Mm.
And then from there, she went on to understand more about how she could make progress in life. But first, she needed to get detached from her attachments. Sometimes when you execute your devotional service and it doesn't come out the way you want it, you might learn some detachment from that, or you might learn more dependence on Krishna when you execute it.
Mm.
The spiritual master teaches both how to do the thing and at the same time how to develop the qualities of devotion while you're doing these activities.
Mm.
He was sometimes Prabhupada would give instructions to a person and they would follow it. But then he would chastise them because their activity, the mood of the activity was completely off. Their consciousness wasn't right. So he would correct based on that and not so much on the activity.
Okay.
So learn from your mistakes.
Okay.
And try to execute things in the best possible way and make sure the activities you perform are in line with making advancement in devotional service. Don't just do something because you want to do something.
Okay.
Okay, we have a question here from Job. So we're going to take that question and we'll go to Abhishek after that.
Thank you so much.
So Abhishek, my brother. Abhishek, Prabhu, please go.
Maharaj, you said that we should take shelter of the Paramatma in the heart. And you also said we should always think of Krishna. Is there a difference between these two?
Taking shelter, Paramatma in the heart, comes when one is purified from all material desires, and you can hear super soon. Before then, you have to take guidance from Paramatma, who manifests externally as the spiritual master. Krishna says, only when the mind and senses are completely controlled, then the super soul is reached. For him, happiness and distress, honor and dishonor, loss and gain appear to be similar. The next verse, they says, he sees gold and pebbles on the ground to be the same. That's when your mind and senses are completely controlled. You don't make a distinction. Everything material is the same. It has no use for you. But to get to that stage of hearing directly from the super soul, you have to hear from Krishna's representative externally. And it's the same thing.
So thinking of Krishna and taking shelter of the Paramatma is the same?
I just told you, Paramatma is manifested as the spiritual master. The one takes shelter of Paramatma, takes shelter of the spiritual master. It's the same thing. You can't reach Paramatma unless you're purified. You can't hear. Your mind has to be completely controlled. If you're on that platform, then you can take directions from Paramatma directly. But don't assume you're on that platform. Take directions from Krishna's representative, the spiritual master, who is the external manifestation of Paramatma. That's one of his titles. He's none different than Paramatma. Then Krishna and Paramatma and the Guru are all the same. Krishna is not going to give you something different. He gives you what he wants through the spiritual master.
In the sense that thinking of Krishna means thinking about the instructions of spiritual master. In the sense, this is the same.
Yeah. So we have Abhishek.
Abhishek Prabhu is Abhishek Prabhu, do you still have a question? Your hands are come.
Yes, yes,
Go ahead.
Mataji.
Go ahead.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my most humble obeisances. All glory to Srila Prabhupada. Maharaj, while I was reading Srimad Bhagavatam, I got one question. Uh, Srila Prabhupada wrote in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.11.3 purport that some distinguished fiction writer in Bengal conclude that Krishna of Vrindavan and that of Mathura and that of Dwarka were different personality. Historically, there is no truth in this conclusion. But while I was reading 14th chapter, 1.14.8, in that purport, Srila Prabhupada wrote that when the Lord, however, appears in his person as Lord Krishna, his other plenary portion also join in him by his inconceivable potency called Yog Maya, and thus the Lord Krishna of Vrindavan is different from Lord Krishna of Dwarka and of the Dwarka and of Mathura. The Virat Roop of Lord Krishna is also different from him. So, Maharaj, I didn't understand here in
Yeah,
the
well,
purport of.
that writer that he refers to in 111.3 is saying that there are three different persons, but it's the same person with different moods. That's all. The mood
But
is different. That's all. Therefore, in the sense that it's the mood that is different. You worship Krishna in Vrindavan different than you worship Krishna in Dwarka, which is more Aishwarya Bhav, which is more Vaikuntha. Krishna in Vrindavan is Madhurya, which is sweetness. So Krishna exhibits different moods, and the worship is also according to the mood. So it's the same person. I mean, you can have different moods and still be the same person. When you're with your friends, you're one way. If you're going to work with your colleagues, you're another way. If you're with someone who you love, you're in another way. So the same person, but exhibiting different moods according to the association that they're with. So it's the same one. Krishna is one. There's not three Krishnas. That's what that writer was saying. That's three different persons. It's not. Same person, different mood, as you illustrated by the second example you gave. It's just different moods.
Oh, Maharaj, here in 114.8, when Prabhupada is saying that Lord Krishna of Dwarka and Vrindavan, Mathura are different, it means that mood is different, no? That's all.
Yeah, Krishna is surrounded by his queens in Dwarka. He's in the palace. He's a Kshatriya. And Vrindavan, he's a cowherd boy, playing with cows and sporting with his friends and having relationships with his gopis.
Hmm.
But the one is worshiping in awe and reverence. The other one's worshiping in what is called the mood of sweetness, where Krishna is not seen as the Supreme Lord. In Dwarka, he's seen as the Supreme Lord. In Vrindavan, he's not seen as the Supreme Lord. Lord Chaitanya has taught us to try to develop the mood of worshiping Krishna in Vrindavan. But we also hear about and appreciate and also relish hearing about Krishna's activities in Dwarka and Mathura also. In Mathura, he came to kill Kamsa and reestablish Ugrasena on the throne as king. In Dwarka, he's a prince, actually more like a king, and he has so many queens, 16,108 queens, and he has palaces. There's all opulence there. He has how many, for each of the queens, he had 10 sons and one daughter. So Krishna had millions of family members. But you don't hear any of that in Vrindavan. The only thing he has is his flute, cowherd stick, bugle horn, and he plays with his friends and has adventures with his associates in different moods, either as lover or as child. Same Krishna. Are you the same when you're at work and when you're at the beach? You can't go swimming when you're at work, you know? When you're intimately connected with someone, there's a certain mood of exchange that is unique. It's not like when you're with your friends or with your colleagues or with, any situation. So we all have different moods. We're still the same person. But with Krishna, it's spiritual. Is that clear?
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you so much.
You sure now? You don't look convinced.
No, Maharaj, it's clear that because there was a doubt that when earlier Prabhupada said is Krishna is not different, and now he is, but now it's clear that mood is different.
Yeah. So this other guy, he's a rascal. He's saying there's three Krishnas. There's only one Krishna. And I think he may even insinuate that there's only one Krishna and the other two are false or somebody else. It could be interpreted in a different way. There's so many speculators on Krishna. Everybody wants to guess what God is like and write books about it, and they want to become popular. We have to take knowledge from Krishna himself, or those who purely represent Krishna. Okay, Raj.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. Maharaj, I have two questions. You mentioned about acting according to our nature. So, how do one confirm that this is his nature or psychophysical nature? And second is, Maharaj, when we are in the shelter of a spiritual master, sometimes we receive instructions which are not according to our psychophysical nature. So, is it about acting according to nature or surpassing the nature in devotional service? Can you please explain, Maharaj?
Right now, that's a consideration that when Prabhupada set up the society, he engaged people according to the need of the services. Because Prabhupada knew he didn't have much time to establish he was in his mid-70s, his health was bad, he could leave at any time. So he didn't have time. But later on, when he stayed longer in 1974, he started talking about the Vanashram College to educate devotees according to their swadharma. Your swadharma is your nature. Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, like that, Sudra. But we need education and evaluation based on the education, and then engagement based on that evaluation before you can actually understand your nature. We get a little inclination towards our nature simply by knowing ourselves, how we function in different situations, how we're more inclined to one way or the other, how certain people are inclined to Brahminical service, others inclined to administrative say type services, others are inclined to do other services. So that inclination may give you a little understanding, but it's not necessarily going to be clear until you get some education based on that. So therefore, Prabhupada's mission was to establish Varnashram. And so we're still in the process of doing that. But in the meantime, if you can work according to your nature, that's fine. But if you're given a particular service by your spiritual master or by your authority, and you say, well, that's not my nature, then you might find yourself without any service. So sometimes we accept that because it's needed at the time. But ideally, in order for the society to develop and for the devotee to develop also, there is an educational system to help evaluate one's nature. Because in Kali Yuga, it's the scriptures say, Kalo Sudra Sambhavam. Everyone is born Sudra. Therefore, in order to, what we say, evaluate a person's nature, there has to be an educational system. The devotees are working on that. Slowly but surely. My god sister, she wrote one book called Career Dharma. It's a very big book. I just talked to her the other day. She's writing a synopsis on that same book because the first book was 600 pages. It's interesting if you can go through it. And she also covers how people in the material world work in different ways, some according to their nature and mostly not. And why are people motivated by different types of activities? Mm-hmm. So you may also see what you're inclined to. That may be an indication of your nature. So like if you're inclined to preach, you have a strong desire to preach. That means you have a Brahminical nature. And in order to feed that nature, you have to study. You have to read. So these are just some ways to look at it. But if you can work according to your nature and it fits in with the system that is being offered to you, good. If not, then just do the service anyway. Because by doing the service, you're connecting with the process of devotional service and you're making advancement. Working to our nature means that we can excel in that service. We can be expert in that service. It's easier because it's your nature. And you'll be very creative in your service also. So from the institutional perspective, we're still struggling to adopt these principles yet, but it's happening in some places. Prabhupada called it Varnashram College. We're in the process of building a building now in Mayapur, which will be a Varnashram college. But if you're not sure, you can also take guidance from your spiritual master or someone who you have taken shelter of, who was a senior devotee who was helping you in your devotional service, and ask for guidance according to how best you can serve.
I hope that answers your question, Raj Prabhu.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, Maharaj.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Raj Prabhu. Radha Bhakti Priya Mataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to you, all glories to Shri Prabhupada. I just have the follow-up question of that, Prabhuji. So, 100% surrender to Krishna means we have to change our nature according to the services which please to Krishna. Am I right, Guru Maharaj?
Say again.
I'm asking that we have to do 100% surrender to the Krishna. So doing 100% surrender means changing our nature according to the services which please to Krishna. Am I right, Guru Maharaj?
Not exactly. 100% surrender means when you're giving a service, just do it. And do it to the best of your ability. That's all. Surrender means of following the instructions of the spiritual master. Surrender means everyone should work under authority, some authority. The spiritual master is he's not always the seva authority. He's not always there to engage you in a particular service, but he allows you to connect with different projects in ISKCON and work under the guidance of those leaders. If you follow that, then you're surrendered.
Yes, Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much.
Yeah. This is when you're going to the temple in Pune, just say, what service can I do? And if you have some idea what you want to do, you can suggest that. If it's needed, they'll give it to you. Or just come and ask for service. We have to do service. We can't just chant and read and sit home, and then we need to do some practical service. Otherwise, we won't develop beyond a certain point.
I hope
Yes,
that
Guru Maharaj.
answers your question, madam. It is so important, so nicely you explained, Maharaj. The last answer from you is this is what I think will help run the temples and help devotees understand the meaning of authority. That surrendering to authority is surrendering to Krishna. It's a really very deep answer, Maharaj. Thank you. There was a hands up from someone. Couldn't spot it quickly, but. Are there any other questions, devotees? There has been very nice discussion today, and we've got very good instructions from Maharaj. And following the instruction of spiritual master is also surrender to the Lord. That is very nice. Thank you, Maharaj. Okay, Shiv Kumar Prabhu, you have raised your hands again. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Mataji. Hare Krishna Maharaj. Just one more question, Maharaj. Today morning, I was listening to one of your Bhagavad Gita lectures, Maharaj, where you were sharing the importance about the preaching for ISKCON is basically fundamentally a preaching mission. And you were sharing some points on how should we look at the spiritual life itself and between sadhana and service and things like that, Maharaj. So after I listened to it, I felt it was in one sense very overwhelming, Maharaj. Very overwhelming. And I was thinking about it as to...
Very what?
Very overwhelming, Maharaj. Very overwhelming.
Huh?
Overwhelming.
Overwhelming.
Yes, Maharaj, in a positive sense. So, I just wanted to share this, Maharaj. Every time I listen to such lectures, your lectures, I had this thought of this Krishna consciousness is something not simple, but something within my reach. But when I listen to such lectures, I see that it's like Pacific Ocean. It's beyond the capacity of my imagination, is what I feel, Maharaj. That's a feeling that I got today morning. So then when I was thinking about how could I move from here, it seems one of the bottlenecks that I struggle with is moving out of comfort zone, Maharaj. So I just wanted to hear from you, is it the tamoguna that kind of makes it hard to move out of comfort zone, or there is more to it, Maharaj? Some advice around that.
Well, we're what do you call it? We're creatures of habit. We get into a certain pattern, a certain habit. And the spiritual master is meant there to uproot that habit, to get you out of that pattern. You can call it a comfort zone, or you can call it a certain way of thinking and doing things. Tries to broaden your vision. and also help you see where you can be most effective in your devotional service. Not everyone will get the same service. So my lectures nobody's ever told me that before, that I make it impossible. Maybe you need something a little bit more easier so you can slowly get out of your, what we call it, there's no such thing as a comfort zone. It's an oxymoron. There's no such thing as comfort zone. In the material world, who's going to be comfort? When birth, death, disease, and old age is chasing you every moment. Miseries of the body and mind, miseries of other living entities, miseries of higher powers are constantly inflicting the living entity. Where's the comfort?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So, Maharaj, just one point I wanted to share, Maharaj. When I say not impossible, Maharaj, like when I hear such lectures, not all the lectures, some of the lectures, you are talking about the struggles of your early days of ISKCON, Maharaj. So, if I have to compare that to the endeavors from my end now in Krishna consciousness, it seems to be there is a huge gap, and of course, it's not a right comparison to do that. I'm just feeling that that's in a different league beyond the imagination of the kind of efforts that have gone in the early days of ISKCON in your spiritual pursuits, Maharaj. Too.
Are you taking shelter of association where you are? You're going to the temple, associating with devotees, going to programs, doing service?
Yes, Maharaj, I'm taking association, but service is something that I am still, I have to kind of put little more endeavors, Maharaj. I do some translation service, for example, for some of the lectures, but that's an area where I have to kind of add some more endeavors, Maharaj. But otherwise, I'm taking association, going to the temples. Okay.
I think Maharaj, did you say that is the service, translating the lectures?
If he's under the guy, he's translating somebody's lectures. Were you doing Bano Swami's lectures?
No, this is for one of the Srila Prabhupada disciple, Maharaj. His name is Grace Mohunda Datta Prabhu from Vrindavan. He lives in Vrindavan. He takes classes, online classes for one of the devotee group in South Tamil Nadu. So,
well, that's nice. That's service.
Yes.
But I think you need more association.
Yes.
You're a Gyani. Trying to get into bhakti a little bit more instead of but it means take that knowledge and apply it to service and association.
Yes, yes. By your mercy, I will attempt. I will try.
We like Gyanis, but Gyanis just get lost sometimes.
Yes.
Because they're too much thinking without even doing,
Yes.
Thank you, Shri Kumar Prabhu.
Thank you.
Sakshi Mataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All praise to Krishna Prabhupada. Guru Maharaj, in your yesterday's lecture, you addressed one question, and you mentioned that in order to get rid of the anarthas, so Guru helps you in getting rid and uprooting the anarthas, but for that you have to give him the opportunity.
For that you have to
I
do
was
what?
wondering, what does that mean?
Sakshi Mataji, you will have to repeat your question. It's not very clear.
No, wait a minute. Just the last part. You have to do what in order? What was that last few words?
You have to give him the opportunity.
You have
to
to
do
give
this work.
you have to give the spiritual master the opportunity. Is that what it is?
Yes.
Yeah, you tell him this is the situation. How can I move forward?
Okay, so it means we need to inquire.
Hmm. Say again, the audio is not so clear, so you have to speak slow.
It means we have to inquire.
Yeah, sure. That's
It
the
means we have to do inquiry.
inquire, get an answer. If you don't understand the answer, ask questions based on the answer and get a further clarification. Inquire. That's what Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, inquire. You
Thank
don't
you.
inquire, then you just listen to your mind. If we listen to our mind, the mind will tell us anything.
Polarization.
You can stand on the top of a building and look down and the mind will say jump, you know? There's people who have done that before. And on the way down and they start saying, oh no, I listened to my mind. Don't listen to your mind. It says, always listen to the words of Krishna coming through the spiritual master, coming through scripture. These are not only philosophical, they're transformed into practical understandings also. We have to be
Thank you very much.
we have to have some intelligence. You can't do this process unless you're a little intelligent. Not everything's going to be handed to you at every second. You take the basic knowledge that you receive and you learn how to use it. Prabhupada said, this movement is for those who are intelligent. So we have to inquire. If you don't have the intelligence, you have to acquire that intelligence. And that intelligence is available through Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. And the basis principle of that knowledge is, well, what is favorable for my devotional service and what is not? You have to discriminate between those two. Sanatana Goswami makes that one of the principles of surrender. He said, you can't surrender unless you know the difference between what's favorable and what's unfavorable. And many things you hear from the spiritual master, but maybe not everything. You also have to go to the books, or maybe go to the association of devotees, which can also guide you. We have so many sources of knowledge. We have to see if one source is limited or not always available, then go to another source.
I hope that answers your question, Sakshi Mataji.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Very nice questions. Any other question, devotees? Just before. So it doesn't look like we have any other questions, Maharaj.
We can wrap it up here.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah, say happy birthday to Srimati. Today's her birthday.
Oh, okay. Happy birthday, Srimati Mataji. Hare Krishna to you.
Please accept my humble obeisances, all goes to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for your blessings and wishes and thinking about me on this day, Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much.
So
Thank you.
also Ekadasi, so it's a very special day.
Yeah. Oops, sorry.
Today is my Tithi birthday too, Guru Maharaj. Date and Tithi came today, both same day.
I didn't catch that something.
Today is my Tithi birthday too, Guru Maharaj. So it's date and Tithi both came in one day. So it's my actual birthday this year.
Double auspicious.
Jai.
Thank you.
Shrimati Mataji
It all
ki
made
jai.
auspicious.
Okay, so I should be here tomorrow.
Okay.
I'm in the midst of a kirtan mela here with 10 hours of kirtan every day. So I'm taking a break between the kirtan programs to come and do this program. So unless they schedule me for around this time, which I don't hope they don't, I should be here tomorrow. Mhm.
Thank you so much.
Anybody who's in Bombay, come to the kirtan. Bombay. Radha Giridhari's Mandir just across from Bhaktivedanta Hospital, Mira Road. Amrita Nam is there every day. Sri Devi is there every day. Anjali, where are you? Which place are you in?
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisance. Guru Maharaj, I am in Katihar. I mean, like right now I'm in Allahabad, Prayagraj, but I stay in Katihar.
How far is that from Bombay?
24 hours
24 hours, huh?
via
Oh,
train, yes.
okay.
I was just wondering that you're going to give her instruction to come.
I wouldn't do that. If she wants to come, that's fine. But that's not an instruction. This is this is one of the biggest kirtan programs in the entire ISKCON. There's at least 30 different kirtaniers here for 3.5 days. Today is the first day. Yesterday was the half day, and tomorrow and then Sunday also. Mhm. Nice. Bhakti Siddhanta says, those who don't do kirtan will never understand this process of Krishna consciousness. We have to do kirtan. It's the Yuga Dharma. All blessings come through kirtan. You get full blessings. Why? Because Lord Chaitanya came to spread the Harinam Sankirtan. So when he sees devotees doing kirtan, he blesses those devotees with his special mercy. And when they perform kirtan for the benefit of others, they get even more mercy. So you can always have kirtan wherever you are. And the way things are in our society, there's so many kirtan programs going on. Just do a little, information gathering. You'll find kirtan programs going on everywhere. Okay. So we'll see you all tomorrow.
Thank you so much for your time and association, Maharaj. Very nice, very sweet.
Go.
Hari Bol, Jai Shri Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you so much, Guru Maharaj, for your association.
Thank you so much, Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna, everybody. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Tomorrow.
Thank you.
Bye, ball.
Hari Bol.
Thank you so much, Guru Maharaj.